let's see what the units are in the SI units versus the English units. Since we are in the United States, I'm going to be comparing a lot of these things to the English units. So what is the SI unit for length? Well, it's going to be considered a meter. Now, for those of you who were born over in Europe, you'll notice meters is just the metric system for length. Well, that is absolutely true. The SI units have their foundation, like I said before, in the metric system. So we will be converting a lot of English units into the metric system. So for those of you born in Europe, you're already ahead of the game here. So let's see the length measurement in English units versus the SI units. The top one is the SI unit. This is going to be your meter. The bottom one is the English unit. That's going to be yards. So we're no longer going to be talking a lot about miles when talking about distances. We're going to be talking about kilometers. That is in the metric system. The SI units are very easy to convert between. So we won't be talking about our yards anymore. We'll definitely be talking about these meters. So that's the SI unit for length. What's the SI unit for mass? Well, it's going to be a kilogram. Unlike in the United States where we use pound, we're going to be using kilogram more often. And what we can see here is the top one is the SI unit, the bottom one is the pound. So rather than talking about me weighing 180 pounds, we'll be talking about me weighing 77 kilograms or something around that range. And so we're going to be converting over into the metric system. For those of you who know the metric system, a kilogram is in the metric system. So we're going to be using, a lot of the SI units do use this metric system. Units for volume. This is going to be considered a liter. Liters are in the metric system. We use gallons in the English system. So SI unit, English unit. A lot of times, since we are in the United States, we're going to have to convert from the English unit to the SI units. It happens all of the time. We have to do this as chemists all of the time, a lot of times. And then the SI unit for temperature is Kelvin. Now this may be a unit that some of you have never heard of before. This is the absolute scale for temperature. And what that means is at 0 Kelvin, that is where all atomic vibrations, all atomic motion stops. And that is called the Kelvin scale, and that is the SI unit for temperature. Now there's a very easy relationship between Kelvin and Celsius, which Celsius is the metric system for temperature. And of course we know how to convert from Fahrenheit to Celsius, and I will give you that equation tomorrow in class, and we will be working a lot of problems using that. So I want to show you on the left is going to be your English unit in Fahrenheit. We won't be using that very often. Very few scientists use this unit. We'll be using the Kelvin and the Celsius found over here on the right. So let's see how we can deal with this metric system and why we're using the metric system for SI units rather than the English system. Well, the metric system is used by the majority of the world. So here, this map is kind of interesting. I really enjoy this map. It shows the countries in red that use the English system of measurement. Everything else in green uses the metric system. So of course, if we're trying to create a standardized unit of measure or standardized units of measure, we're going to be using the metric system. The majority of the population of the world uses metric system. Why not just keep it? And so that's why a lot of scientific data is reported in the metric system. So since we are in the United States, I'm going to break down the metric system very quickly and then we'll move on. So here we have an example of a standard ruler. A lot of you have seen this. It was a school supply you had to buy when you were in elementary school, middle school, and high school. And so you've seen a ruler like this before. On one side is the English unit, on the other side is the metric unit. So let's break it down. The metric system has the cm, and the English unit has the INCH. So the INCH stands for inch, and the cm stands for centimeter. If you notice, the centimeter is two different words put together. We have meter, which is the SI unit for length, and then we have this prefix in front of it. It's centi. It means something, and I'm going to show you a table on the next slide that you're going to have to memorize and be able to convert between centimeters and meters. And it's pretty easy to do. It's all based on powers of 10. That's why the metric system is actually a very useful system to use. It's all based on powers of 10. And since we were previously on Thursday, we were using powers of 10 for scientific notation, it just follows that the metric system makes sense to use. Now for the English system, IN or INCH stands for inch. There are generally no prefixes in the English system. That's why it's a little more confusing when using it, when talking about it in everyday life. So here's our table. Here's our big table. I won't ask you to memorize a lot of things throughout the class, but this is definitely a table that you will have to memorize and be functional at converting between the units that are present here. So let's look at the first one. This is mega. This is the capital M is pronounced mega. Just like that C, which was centi on the previous slide, any prefix can be put in front of any of the SI units. So this can be megagrams, megameters, megaliters, all of that can use this symbol, this prefix. It means a million, and it's written out in decimal form as a million or 1 times 10 to the 6th. Our scientific notation is coming back to haunt us. It's going to be there for the rest of the semester, so try and get used to using it. So that's our first unit. I'm going to give you 7 units, I think, that are the common ones we use in chemistry. So that's mega. We have kilo, lowercase k. It's thousands, written as 1,000 or 1 times 10 to the 3rd. Deci, it's a tenth, lowercase d. It's written as 1 times 10 to the negative 1st. Centi, lowercase c, written as 1 times 10 to the negative 2nd. Milli, lowercase m, 1 times 10 to the negative 3rd. Micro, this symbol is the Greek symbol for mu. It's a little u with a tail at the beginning of it, and that stands for 1 times 10 to the negative 6th. Nano, lowercase n, 1 times 10 to the negative 9th. And pico, lowercase p, 1 times 10 to the negative 12th. So we're going to have to be able to convert between all of these different units on this table just at the drop of a hat. We're going to be doing this a lot in the class. So I'm going to have you guys try and memorize this as fast as you can. So these are our metric system prefixes. If we want to talk about just the unit of measure meter without any prefix, we don't need to add a prefix for just the meter. Its actual exponential notation or scientific notation is going to be considered 1 times 10 to the 0, which is just equal to 1. And so a meter is just 1 meter. There's nothing associated with it. So we will go through a lot of examples tomorrow talking about how to convert between these prefixes.